One day in 2038, the world will wake up to an incredible sight. The close passage of a massive asteroid that could spell doom for humanity or perhaps offer a once-in-a-lifetime chance for adventure. Because despite what some headlines may claim, this particular asteroid won't destroy the Earth. But if it strikes the Earth, it could certainly do some serious damage. So here's the real story of what we know about the 2038 asteroid and why astronomers say it might just miss the Earth. Welcome to my channel. According to astronomers, one day in 2038, the world will wake up to an incredible sight, the close passage of a massive asteroid. That could spell doom for humanity or perhaps offer a once-in-a-lifetime chance for adventure. Because despite what some headlines may claim, this particular asteroid won't destroy the Earth. But if it strikes the Earth, it could certainly do some serious damage. For years, scientists have been watching the 2023 PDC asteroid and its course. With mounting concern, they now believe it could pass between the Earth and the Moon in 2038. The last time something similar happened was back in 1976, when the world watched intently as the then newly discovered 1976 UF-1 passed between the Earth and the Moon. Back then, people didn't have access to the internet or live news feeds and were instead forced to listen on the radio, as NASA scientists calculated the asteroid's trajectory. After several days of anxious waiting, it was determined that the asteroid had passed safely away from the Earth. But today, people are concerned that the situation could be much different. Unlike 1976, which was half a century ago, we are living in the age of the internet and social media. Should the 2023 PDC collide with Earth, everyone would be able to watch the destruction happen in real time on their phone screens or smart TVs, and that means everyone would be able to watch the world end in real time. People are becoming increasingly anxious about what could happen in 2038. So how likely is it that 2038 will be the year that the world ends? According to scientists, it's extremely unlikely, bordering on impossible. To date, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory has run thousands of simulations of possible scenarios for the asteroid's approach to the Earth in 2038. Of those simulations, none paint a clear picture of a direct collision between the asteroid and the Earth. Many show the asteroid missing the Earth by millions of miles. Others have the asteroid making a close flyby, but still passing harmlessly beyond the Moon. However, other simulations show the asteroid passing between the Earth and the Moon. But although such a scenario might seem alarming, it would actually be relatively safe. That's because the Moon's gravity would pull the asteroid away from the Earth long before it came close enough to cause any damage. But there are still many variables in play, and that's what's causing anxiety among experts. Gravitational forces from the Sun, the Moon, and the Earth will all act on the asteroid as it approaches the planet. Any change in speed or direction could alter the asteroid's trajectory enough to put it on a direct collision course with the Earth. According to the ESA, this is particularly worrying because of the asteroid size. Scientists believe that the 2023 PDC could be anywhere from 200 meters to 6 miles across. If it were to strike the Earth, the resulting impact could be devastating. To put that into context, the asteroid that killed off most of the dinosaurs and other life on Earth was about 10 kilometers wide. Although it wasn't the size of the asteroid, but rather the way it struck the Earth that led to the mass extinction. The amount of debris kicked up by the impact blocked out the sun, leading to a decade-long period of darkness and global cooling. It's believed that this was the major factor that led to the demise of the dinosaurs and not the impact itself. However, it's very unlikely that the 2023 PDC would be big enough to cause such catastrophic damage. What is more concerning, however, is that the asteroid is made up of extremely dense materials such as iron and nickel. This makes the 2023 PDC significantly heavier than asteroids made up of lighter materials such as stone or rock. If it were to strike the Earth, the resulting impact could release an unbelievable amount of energy. Although the exact amount of energy released would depend on the asteroid's size and speed, it's thought that the 2023 PDC could release between 10 million and 10 billion tons of TNT. For comparison, the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated, the Tsar Bomba, released about 58 megatons of TNT. That means the energy released by the 2023 PDC would range from 172,000 to 17,200,000 times the power of the biggest nuke ever created. That's why it's so important that scientists accurately predict the asteroid's path and make sure it won't strike the Earth. As it stands, the 2023 PDC is listed as a potentially hazardous object, which means that there is a possibility that it could pose a threat to the Earth in the future. However, according to astronomers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the chance of it hitting the Earth anytime soon is very low. Currently, the asteroid is about 290 million kilometers from the Earth and is hurtling through space at a speed of 24 kilometers per second. The asteroid will continue to hurtle around the Sun until it reaches its closest point to Earth in early February 2025. At that point, it will be about 19.5 million kilometers from the Earth. It will continue to orbit the Sun until 2038, when it will pass closest to the Earth on February of that year. Currently, scientists think the asteroid will pass the Earth at a distance of 31.3 million kilometers. However, while that is a huge relief, the margin for error is frighteningly small. Just a slight gravitational nudge in either direction could be enough to send the asteroid crashing towards the Earth. What's more, astronomers can't rule out the possibility that the asteroid could break apart into multiple pieces before it reaches the Earth. This could increase the chances of at least one fragment hitting the Earth, even if the main body passes harmlessly by. All of these scenarios are currently being run by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory to determine how likely they are. So far, however, nothing suggests that we need to worry. But as the years go by, the margin for error will get smaller and the risk of a collision will increase. That's why astronomers will continue to monitor the asteroid's trajectory as it makes its way towards the Earth. They'll use powerful telescopes to track its movement and calculate its path around the Sun. Any changes in its orbit will be noted and analyzed to see if it poses a risk to the Earth. Even if the 2023 PDC does strike the Earth, it's thought that we will have at least a few weeks, if not months, to prepare. That would give us enough time to launch a mission to intercept the asteroid and push it off course using a technique known as a gravity tractor. A gravity tractor is a spacecraft that uses its own gravity to pull an asteroid off course. By attaching a tractor to the 2023 PDC, we could gradually pull it away from the Earth and reduce the risk of a collision. We could also use nuclear weapons to blow the asteroid off course. However, this would be a last resort as it could cause the asteroid to break apart and increase the risk of a collision. You've heard Billie Eilish's song about it. The question is, what if the asteroid of 2038 really hits the Earth? Will it be the end of the world, or just another close call like the Chelyabinsk meteor? In this video, we'll find out. The existence of the asteroid 2038 was announced back in 2004. At first, its threat index was so low it was even classified as potentially hazardous. It was until 7 years later when experts realized how close it would pass by the Earth that it was given the dubious honor of being the planet's close neighbor. According to calculations, in 2038, the asteroid will come within 28 million kilometers of Earth. For comparison, the average distance between the Earth and the Moon is about 380,000 kilometers. But don't rejoice too soon, because even that small proximity poses a serious danger. The asteroid's diameter is 700 meters. If it were to strike the Earth, the effects would be unlike anything in recorded history. At speeds of over 25,000 kilometers per hour, the energy released would be equivalent to hundreds of nuclear bombs going off at once. If it hit land, it could obliterate an entire city and plunge the planet into a temporary impact winter. It'd block sunlight with dust and debris thrown up into the atmosphere, which would cause a global cooling of several tens of degrees. And this could last for several years. If the asteroid hit an ocean, the resulting mega tsunami could swallow coastal cities thousands of kilometers away. And then we'll have something to add to the list of biblical cataclysms. So far, the asteroid is following the expected trajectory. Astronomers made these predictions based on observations made in 2021 but they won't be able to fully determine the danger posed by the asteroid until early next year. The thing is, even though the asteroid has already been discovered, we still don't know much about it. So in late February 2023, experts will launch the first of 2 dark mission spacecraft. Its purpose is to get as close as possible to the asteroid and measure its speed and orbit parameters. And in mid-March, the second spacecraft will do the same. This is necessary to calculate the probability of an asteroid impact. And there are some very pessimistic forecasts. For example, the head of the Planetary Society, Bill Gray, says that the asteroid could be 20 times closer to us than we think. Now let's not jump to conclusions. Experts have taken all possible scenarios into account and developed a plan for preventing an asteroid impact. Moreover, this isn't science fiction. Back in September 2022, NASA successfully crashed the first spacecraft into an asteroid and changed its trajectory. This happened during the double asteroid redirection test. Let me remind you that an asteroid consists of 2 bodies held together by gravitational force. The main body is named Didymos. The smaller one is called Dimorphos. The spacecraft had to change the trajectory of the latter, and it did. As a result, Dimorphos now makes a full revolution around Didymos in 11 hours and 55 minutes. Before the impact, the period of the asteroid's orbit was 12 days, 22 hours and 46 minutes. In other words, thanks to the impact, the asteroid began to orbit the main body faster by 32 minutes. To put it simply, the spacecraft pushed the asteroid away from the Sun and moved it closer to Earth. And this means that if necessary, we could change the asteroid's trajectory and push it away from the planet. But this method requires years, sometimes decades of preparation. That's why astronomers are racing against time to refine the asteroid's path and, if necessary, prepare a planetary defense mission before 2038. But what if everything goes according to the worst-case scenario, and the asteroid does hit the Earth? What would happen next? First, there would be an explosion equivalent to 100 billion tons of TNT. For comparison, the bomb dropped on Hiroshima had a capacity of 6.2 kilograms of plutonium-239. Its explosion power was only 0.006% of the asteroid's potential energy. That is, the asteroid impact would be 166,000 times more powerful than the bomb that fell on Hiroshima. After the impact, a huge crater would appear in place of the asteroid's trajectory. It would be comparable to the Chicxulub crater, which is now under the Yucatan Peninsula. By the way, it was formed as a result of a meteorite impact that killed off the dinosaurs. The asteroid impact would also trigger earthquakes with a magnitude of 8 or 9 points. They would destroy buildings within a radius of several hundred kilometers from the epicenter. The consequences of the impact would affect the climate for many years. Huge amounts of rock and soil would get into the atmosphere and block sunlight. The air temperature would drop by an average of 5 to 10 degrees. But that wouldn't last long. The atmosphere would start to trap more heat, leading to a greenhouse effect. The consequences would become even worse if the asteroid hit the ocean. Most likely, its impact would cause earthquakes, tsunamis, and a series of volcanic eruptions. A tsunami could wash away coastal cities and even islands. Underwater earthquakes would lead to volcanic eruptions. Ash would cover vast territories. In short, it would be a real apocalypse. However, this is all speculation. And in fact, scientists are quite sure that the asteroid will never reach the Earth. In 2021, experts estimated the likelihood of an impact to be 1%, and even this figure is considered quite optimistic. Most scientists argue that the probability is less than 1%, but we shouldn't forget that nature doesn't always follow our predictions. There's a theory claiming that the Tunguska event in Siberia, which happened in 1908 and destroyed a forest over an area of 2,000 square kilometers, occurred due to an asteroid impact. But we'll leave it up to you to decide whether to believe in it. In any case, to reduce the uncertainty, NASA plans to send a spacecraft to study the asteroid. It's scheduled for launch in 2024. Meanwhile, experts from all over the world are sounding the alarm. Some of them say we're approaching the asteroid blindly and don't know what to expect. Others are sure that there's no danger to humanity. In April 2022, researcher Gareth Collins from Imperial College London, UK, said, "I don't think there's any cause for concern. We have seen this asteroid coming for a long time. It was first sighted back in 2003, so there's nothing unusual about it. Its trajectory is known and is being monitored. There's no need to sound the alarm. It seems that this time the end of the world isn't imminent, but scientists admit that they can't completely rule out the possibility of an asteroid impact." And here we come to the most important question: what should we do now? Some people are calling for massive funding for the planetary defense system. Others believe that money should be spent more carefully, since there is a very small chance the asteroid will hit the Earth. The US government has yet to comment on this issue, but NASA representatives say they're closely monitoring the asteroid's trajectory. What's your opinion? Do we need to take action now or wait for more accurate data? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video. These actions motivate us to make more interesting videos about space. In the meantime, let's see what other celestial bodies are threatening our planet. For example, do you know what's the silent killer of Earth? It's not an asteroid or a comet. The answer may surprise you.